What's up, everyone? This is the Autistic Scyther here, and this is part 2 of top 10 favorite lance/spear wielders in video games. For those that want to see numbers 10 through 6, part 1 is already up on my channel. So I suggest you go watch that video, and then come back to see the first 5, and come back to see the remaining 5 entries. So now, without further ado, let's get back into this and onward. Moving on next, at number 5, we have Judith from Tales of Vesperia. Alright. Ironically, for those that already don't know, I have Tales of Vesperia. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten that far because of Zaggy, and as I've pointed out so many times, I've had a hard time in the first battle against Zaggy. For maybe possibly because it's a skill issue in certain cases. But naturally, the reason why I wanted to play through Tales of Vesperia was because of Judith. And because I've heard a lot of good things about Tales of Vesperia, so I wanted to check it out for myself. And naturally, when it comes down to it, Judith is an interesting warrior. Granted, her father is basically her father was a Blastia researcher, and she not only looked up to him, but with one of her friends, she basically went on expeditions to train, only for an accident that only for a calamity that attack on her home village that caused the death of her father, leading her to be taken into another village within her tribe. However, that being said, she's been more or less used to fighting, and eventually, after showing up as throughout most of the game as a dragon rider, she eventually joins the brave Vesperia as a pretty solid lance fighter. And that really says a lot, as you got a lot of characters in Tales that utilize some solid weapons. I mean, you got Malik in Tales of Graces, who fights with a boomerang. And you got Rowan, who basically, he fights like a conductor. And you got Regal, who basically, he blew away the bars of a prison with a Kamehameha wave. And then there's Raven, but we'll get to him soon enough. But even with that, her lance footwork is actually pretty solid. From standard lance strikes, spinning lance attacks, and even diving attacks that really do some solid damage. Granted, the way she grips onto her lance in battle is interesting to say the least, but either way, whoever gets the job done, that's all I gotta say. Moving on next at number 4, we have Pantheon from League of Legends. And oh boy, yeah. Honestly, League of Legends is another game I've always wanted to play, but of course I haven't yet gotten the chance to essentially play League of Legends. And honestly, that really does say a lot, considering Pantheon's basically a Roman centurion. Also, he apparently got a rework in 2019. Don't know where that was going, but okay. And honestly, yeah, he still fits the entire Roman centurion thing. Only this time, he's more of like a a stalwart warrior than anything else. And naturally, the fact that most of his abilities are basically focusing on his lance work really does say a lot. I mean, his main passive, Mighty Guard, basically allows him to basically stack power buffs every time he's attacked, which really is pretty cool. Or every time he attacks. And not only that, but you also have Aegis Assault, which has him jumping forward and bashing his opponent with his shield, a lance strike that basically allows him to charge forward while striking his opponent several times repeatedly with his lance. And his ultimate basically has him jumping up into the air like a kangaroo or a dragoon, spoiler alert, and throwing his spear down to the ground to slow the opponent. And granted, keep in mind, they've added many characters on this list, including Aurora, who is, ironically enough, League's basic autistic rep. So, yeah, it really does say a lot, but when it comes down to it, you really can't beat the classics. Plus, apparently he's a really good baker. Yes, a baker. I'm surprised as much as you are. Moving on next at number 3, we have Kain Highwind from Final Fantasy IV. Okay, first thing first, for the longest time, it was essentially between both Kain and Kamari Ronso from Final Fantasy X. And even for the longest time, I was considering the Panther Man. I was considering the gruff and powerful Panther Man for this list. But honestly, after playing through as much of Final Fantasy IV that I've played through, I really can't beat a legend like Kain Highwind. In fact, whenever you think of the phrase Dragoon, that's the first thing you think of when you... Kain Highwind's the first person that comes to mind. And naturally, he fits so much. Especially considering he's a friend. He's basically the best friend of the main character, Cecil Harvey, and the childhood friend of Cecil's wife, Rosa. And the fact that he basically, and even from the beginning, he joins Cecil to help him out no matter when he starts having misgivings about what the king basically had him do at the beginning of the game, only to eventually have a lot of stuff happening thanks to, well, the attack on the Esper village. And that being said, later on, you eventually realize he returns, but this time under the charge of Golbez, who is now taken over as the captain of the Red Wings. And yeah, the fact that he ends up facing off against his friends says a lot. But he does eventually rejoin you, and he's one of your best units. Outside of Yang, and Rydia, but then again, if I'm wrong, someone correct me in the comments, because I'm not sure which one's the better one. Kain, Rydia, or Yang. But even with that, The reason of what makes Kane so good is his jump ability. Basically, what it basically is that Kane jumps up into the air for at least a turn. And then just a turn later, he comes down spear first with... he comes down lance first with such power that he's able to deal massive damage to the opponent. And basically, this tactic is a way to defeat one of the 4 elemental fiends, Barbaricia. Which, honestly, really does say a lot. Also, the fact that it can knock her out of her tornado form really says a lot as well. And considering Final Fantasy's glut of characters, yeah, I think nobody can beat someone as awesome as Kane. And that's really saying a lot. Moving on, next at number 2, we have Nephany from the Fire Emblem Teleus duology. Speaking of characters that we really can't beat, honestly, I had a lot when it came down to a main spear or lance wielder from Fire Emblem. As again, I considered Oboro and Tamara for this spot. However, honestly, you still can't tell me that Neff is one of the best ones the Fire Emblem franchise has had. I mean, basically, she starts off as a village girl from the village of Oma, and who joined the Crimean army at the onset of the Mad King's War, only to be captured by Dayan as a prisoner of Dayan. Of course, that being said, thanks to Ike and the rest of the Gryo mercenaries, she's essentially freed and joins their group in order to face off against Ashnard. And honestly, Nephany is surprisingly enough one of the best units in the game. Granted, she's basically your first soldier that most of us have gotten. Granted, for Fire Emblem as a whole, that was Lucas. But yeah, she basically is your first soldier. And once he promotes in Path of Radiance, she can become a halberdier and get the signature skill Pierce, which is basically a powerful crit skill. Yeah, she's actually pretty powerful. But it doesn't stop there, because in Radiant Dawn, she takes it one step further by promoting into a Sentinel and becoming a full-on tour de force. Honestly, I don't know about you, but even though I haven't played through Radiant Dawn, I know I'm going to give Nephany her due. That's all I'm gonna say. Finally, at number 1, we have Lu Bu from the Dynasty Warriors franchise. Okay. Yeah. If you already hadn't guessed, this list has a lot of games or franchises I haven't played before. And Dynasty Warriors is one I definitely haven't done so. But you know, I honestly couldn't go without adding in Lu Bu. I mean, not only is he an iconic character, but he's one of the most feared warriors in the game, to the point that, honestly, there's a reason the phrase, "do not pursue Lu Bu," has become a meme within the community. And honestly, I don't know what else to say. Please, nobody hate me because I haven't played through Dynasty Warriors, but all I gotta say is that just to not make the Dynasty Warriors fandom mad at me, Lubu's number 1. And with that, those are all of my top 10 favorite lance/spear wielders in video games. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.